Hey guys, here's a new update to keep you in tune with what's happening. So let me swing the camera around and we'll get started. Got to check this out. There's all kinds going on, and unlike sometimes it's a little harder to tell what the new stuff is going on until I point it out, but I think it's pretty obvious here. We're well on our way. We've got some tanks in the racks already, and there's a couple reasons why they're not all in the racks, but I will explain that. And you can see we've got some water here in the tanks. I may have just said that, but you know, that's me. I'm getting older, so I can't remember what I'm saying. Anyways, it's looking really good. Everything's black. That's a good sign. I think it looks pretty sharp. And I think, I mean, from my perspective anyways, the closer this gets to being done, I think the result is, in my opinion anyways, I think it's pretty impressive, and I can't wait. And I'm pretty sure you guys can't wait either. But let's talk about the reasoning why we've got tanks in the upper and middle row, and why there's water in predominantly in the upper tanks. So when we build these racks, of course they're out of wood, so it's very difficult because wood continues to warp after you've bought it. All these 2x4s were carefully selected. But even if you go to your hardware store, Home Depot, for example, and you talk to the guys, in the lumber area, they will tell you as soon as they cut the straps off each bundle, it just starts warping right away. And I'm not sure what time frame. I can't remember, because I was talking to one of the employees there. This is probably last year. Or whenever I was building racks last time, and he said the time frame from the wood being sellable to unsellable was fairly short. And I don't recall what he said to me. When things get so twisted up that they can't even sell them, I don't recall what he said they do with them, but they certainly don't untwist them to resell them. So anyways, carrying on. So when we build the racks, and we do our very, very best at trying to make them all level, that's an extremely difficult task. It would be really, really easy if they were built out of metal. But because the wood has a mind of its own and continues to, you can start at one end and think you're doing wonderful. By the time you get to the other end, and thinking you're still doing wonderful, when you come back and check this end, many of the things that would have been level at whatever kind of plane you're looking at, whether from the front or from the end or from the top, can very well be different again. So it can be frustrating. And so the thought process in putting the tanks up here and having some water in them, about half full, would be to weigh the stands down to the point that they're resting back down onto the shims that were originally placed in there, to at least give us the concept that they're once again level from the bottom. And then, we can work from there in terms of continuing to level and whatnot. I think maybe my method is maybe a little more complicated than a lot of guys that build racks do. I think that, you know, there's potential that you could just get away with building your racks best you can, and obviously within reason, and throw your tanks on, fill them with water, and the tanks will, you know, some people would call it level out the stand themselves, but that's not possible because the tanks aren't going to bend the wood. Maybe over time the wood's going to continue warping and whatever, but anyways, and that might be an acceptable way of doing it, but I think it's a little bit risky, and more risky than I am, you know, completely willing to just kind of wing it and do it that way. But having said all that, I think we're making decent progress. We've got all of these tanks are 50-gallon tanks. They're 36 by 18 by 19 inches high. And as I've spoken to you about before, some of them have dividers in them. So that would obviously be 25 gallons. And then 3 of the tanks in the whole racking system in this new expansion are 6-foot tanks, 6 foot by 18 inches wide, and again 19 inches high. So it's not a common sized tank. I don't know in terms of gallonage what it works out to, but they'll be pretty impressive. It'll give us some flexibility in what we can keep. So I think that might be it for now. I know that there's the potential that there will be lots going on tomorrow. The electrician is coming in, a couple days delayed beyond what he had suggested, but it's understandable. He's running a business, and but I know for sure he'll have his work done in time to keep this project on pace. It's Tuesday today, so you know there's a little more than a week and a half before the goal date of somewhere between February 1st and 3rd for opening. As that date gets closer, it's starting to feel a little unrealistic, but I'm still pushing ahead and hopeful that we're, you know, somewhat close to that. Although at the end, it won't be worth risking the livestock just to meet a timeline. And so I'm very aware of that. I don't intend on rushing anything to a point where a fish that could have otherwise been well would perish just because of us rushing. And that is my primary concern. And of course, you know, on top of that, it would be, you know, it could be a fairly financial loss. And to multiply it beyond that, it wouldn't make for, you know, super happy customers either, because you're passing on fish that may have been through a bit more of a challenge than they need to be. So we will, you know, keep moving forward, and we're going to hope for the best. And it can all come together still, but there's a lot of moving pieces that would need to fall in place. I got to think, I presume the next update that I'll give you is probably when all the tanks are in place with water. And, you know, and I think that'll be the next update. Oh, I didn't explain why none of the bottom row have tanks in them. And that would be for 2 reasons. I might have even talked about this in the last video, but if I put tanks on the bottom row, oops, with the camera the wrong way there, then it greatly limits my access to putting shims at the back there to level the stands. And the other reason is that we've, for the most part, we've used up all of our 50-gallon tanks. Let me just see here. I think that we've got maybe 4 or 5 tanks. We can run back to the next room and check that out. But and then beyond these 50-gallon tanks, I have quite a few 40-gallon breeders, and we'll use them along the bottom to fill up the bottom spaces. But they still need to be blacked out on the back, and there's still some work to do there. But we're hoping. I know I'm rambling on a little bit further, but there's other things to kind of discuss. So I'm hoping, the plan is that I've changed my mind. These racks that are 4 foot wide, 8 foot long, there's 2 of them with, I'm pretty sure there's 4 shelves per rack. I want them to go along this wall now, against the wall, which I was a little concerned about, because my original thinking was that I didn't really want myself or staff to have to, especially on the upper shelves, to have to climb back, kind of, if you will, call it that, climb back to the back of the rack to get product. But after, thinking it through and discussing with some other people, I think it is our best option, and I don't think it'll be unsafe, actually. I think it'll be really good. So this wall will have those racks, and then at the end right here, there's still room. There's still room for our our hose. It won't be where our water our sinks are set up, but the hose that we will be using to fill this room up will be mounted back here, and we will have a slot in the wall. I think I've explained this. Sorry, ladder's in the way. We'll have a slot in the wall that hose will come out. Way nicer looking than having that hose reel on this side. And so that's what we'll do there. There's still some thinking that has to be done in terms of setup in for the sinks and all that, but that's kind of a to some degree a no-brainer. There's the water supply pipes down here, the water heaters. Sorry, gimbal prevented me from going up there. Water heaters up there, so it makes a lot of sense that the sinks would be here. But we have a lot of things to consider, because we'll be making RO water, like I've discussed. There's our big tote for RO water. It's 1,000 liters, and then we have quite a few mixing barrels that will be mixing RO to create salt water. So yeah, there's still a lot of moving parts to this, and there's a lot of planning that goes into it all. Some things, I suppose, turn out to be unforeseen, or plans have to change. Like I just did, change where those racks were going to sit in the back, and all that. So, anyways, I will cut it off there, and thank you for following along. I hope you're enjoying the videos, and we'll look forward to talking to you in the next ones.